They're getting some breaking news in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Search for Nancy Guthrie. She's now been missing well over a...
On January 31st, Nancy Guthrie was dropped off at her home in the Catalina foothills area of Tucson, Arizona at 9:50 in the evening. By the next morning, she was gone. And somewhere inside a Bitcoin wallet connected to this case, a message was left that the public was never supposed to see. It said, "We are ready to talk. Contact us." The other side never responded. Not publicly. And today, 87 days in, there is still no named suspect, no confirmed location, and no explanation for why everything went silent after that message appeared. But what has been happening inside that silence? That is exactly what we are going to break down today. Here's what the last confirmed hours looked like. Nancy did not show up for a scheduled church live stream the following morning. Family members arrived at the house around 11 a.m., found nothing, and called 911 at noon. When investigators arrived, her phone was still inside. Her medication was still inside. Her shoes were still inside. The back doors had been propped open. And on the front porch, blood that was tested and confirmed as Nancy's DNA. The doorbell camera was disconnected at 1:47 in the morning. At 2:12, motion was detected but no footage was captured. At 2:28, her pacemaker stopped syncing with her Apple devices. Whatever happened inside that house happened within a 41-minute window. And whoever was responsible came prepared. They knew about the camera. They knew about the layout. They moved deliberately. Within days of the disappearance, ransom notes began arriving. Not to law enforcement. Not directly to the family. They went to television stations. TMZ received one. 2 Tucson news stations received others. The notes demanded millions of dollars in Bitcoin with deadlines of February 5th and February 9th. Both deadlines passed. No confirmed payment. No public follow-up. Then on February 4th, a man named Derek Kellis sent 2 separate text messages to members of the Guthrie family asking whether they had received the Bitcoin. He was arrested. He had been following the case on television and pulled contact information from a public website. He had no connection to the abduction. His trial is scheduled for June 23 at the federal courthouse in Tucson. But those fraudulent texts were completely separate from the ransom letters that arrived at the TV stations. And those letters, according to Savannah Guthrie herself, were different. She stated publicly that she believed 2 of the notes were legitimate. Which brings everything back to February 10th. The CBS Phoenix station, one of the original recipients of those letters, confirmed that activity appeared inside the connected Bitcoin wallet. A small transaction, and alongside it, a message. "We are ready to talk. Contact us." A link was included for how to respond. No one officially confirmed who placed it there. But when you understand how the FBI operates in active kidnapping cases, the picture becomes clear. This was not a payment. This was a signal. A message designed to shift the dynamic. Because when the FBI enters a negotiation like this, they are not there to meet demands. They are there to establish that demands do not work without a conversation first. They are effectively telling whoever is on the other side, "You are not the only one with something at stake here. Neither of us can walk away from this clean." And then the other side said nothing. No counteroffer. No proof of life. No follow-up communication of any kind. The channel opened on February 10th was never used again, at least not in any way that became public. And that silence is not an absence of information. It is information. Because real kidnapping operations follow a pressure pattern. They escalate. They send reminders. They make every passing hour feel unbearable because the entire financial objective depends on keeping that emotional pressure building. That did not happen here. Not once did anyone provide a photograph, a video, a recorded message, anything that verified Nancy was alive after she was taken. The deadlines came and went. And when the FBI opened a line, the other side disappeared. A former FBI agent with 25 years of experience described this as negotiating in bad faith from day one. Not just an observation. A behavioral profile. Because when you strip away the letters, the Bitcoin wallet, the media strategy, what you are left with is a set of decisions that never once prioritized getting paid. And if getting paid was never the real priority, the question investigators were forced to confront became something much more uncomfortable. What was the priority? Because a genuine ransom operation does not go public. It does not send letters to television stations. It moves quietly, quickly, and completely away from law enforcement. This went to the media immediately. And that specific choice, to make everything visible from the beginning, is one of the most revealing things about this entire case. Either the person behind it did not understand how these situations work, or they understood exactly how they work and chose the opposite on purpose. Meanwhile, something else was happening behind the scenes that has not been widely connected to the wider investigation. Over 220 emails obtained by Fox 10 in Phoenix showed that the Pima County Sheriff's Department had been in active communication with producers from a reality television crew in the period before Nancy's disappearance. Those same emails revealed that the heads of the department's homicide and cold case units had been rotated out in the year prior to the abduction. And Fox News later reported that the lead investigator assigned to the Nancy Guthrie case had no prior homicide experience. On top of that, the crime scene was released before investigators had finished processing it. In a case built on microscopic evidence, hair, skin cells, DNA transfer, trace material that degrades within hours, releasing a scene early does not just create a procedural problem. It creates a legal one. Defense attorneys can challenge anything collected after re-entry. Chain of custody becomes contested. Evidence that could have been definitive becomes arguable. The Pima County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to question Sheriff Chris Nanos about department management. A recall effort is now underway. On the physical evidence side, a glove was recovered approximately 2 meters from Nancy's home. DNA from an unknown male was extracted from it. No match in the Cody's database. Mixed DNA was recovered from inside the home itself. Also no match. Hair samples were collected and sent to a laboratory in Florida, which subsequently forwarded the material to the FBI for further analysis. And this is where the investigation steps into territory that very few cases ever reach. A San Francisco forensics laboratory, the same lab that helped identify Rex Hoyerman in the Gilgo Beach serial killer case, is now reportedly involved in the DNA analysis connected to Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. That lab does not take standard cases. It works cases where conventional DNA testing has reached its limit. Where investigators need forensic genetic genealogy, partial match analysis, techniques that build family trees from trace biological material and identify someone through their relatives when a direct database hit does not exist. When that level of testing enters an investigation, it means either the recovered DNA was insufficient for a standard match and advanced testing became necessary, or investigators already have a direction from other evidence and are using the DNA to confirm it before moving. Both possibilities point toward the same place. They are not guessing anymore. They are building. Officials have stated that results from this type of testing can take months. And that timeline is not a delay. It is the process. Because DNA at this stage does not hand you a name. It hands you a direction. And you follow that direction carefully, methodically, in a way that will survive every challenge thrown at it in a courtroom. Because a courtroom is exactly where the agents closest to this case say it is headed. As of day 87, the reward sits at $1.1 million. Nearly 40,000 public tips have been received. The investigation remains active across the Pima County Sheriff's Department, the FBI, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and federal prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Tucson. Sheriff Nanos stated early in the case that he believed he knew the motive. He has not shared it publicly. What we are left with is this. A message was placed in a Bitcoin wallet on February 10. Someone reached in and said they were ready to talk. The other side went silent. And in the weeks since, investigators have been doing what the FBI always does before a prosecution. Building. Testing. Waiting for the moment when the evidence connects clearly enough to act on. That moment has not arrived publicly yet. But the DNA is at Quantico. The case is being prepared for trial. And somewhere between that February 10th message and the lab results still being processed, the answer to what happened to Nancy Guthrie already exists. Someone knows exactly what happened inside that house between 1:47 and 2:28 in the morning. Someone has been watching this case develop for 87 days and has chosen to say nothing. Cases like this do not stay unresolved. Evidence does not disappear. People make mistakes. And the kind of preparation the FBI is engaged in right now is not the kind you do when you have nothing. It is the kind you do when you are almost ready.